All right, so if you think AI right now is just about clever chatbots, you need to stick around. We are on the verge of a massive shift in how professional work actually gets done. Seriously, we're moving way beyond those general-purpose tools and into a brand new era, what we're calling the Agentic Age, where AI becomes like a specialized member of your team. So let's dig into what that actually means for you.
This quote absolutely nails it. For years, our value at work came from doing the thing. Cranking out reports, writing lines of code, summarizing big documents. That's the routine synthesis part. Well, that's all changing, fast. Now our value is shifting to designing the systems, curating the right information, and basically being the boss of the AI that handles all that execution. We're not the laborers anymore, we're the architects.
And that's what we call the agentic shift. And I gotta stress this, it's not just a slightly smarter chatbot. It's a whole new category of AI. Think of it as a specialized expert that's been trained only on the information that you give it.
Okay, this slide right here shows the critical difference. On the left, you've got the AI we all know, right? General-purpose tools trained on the huge, messy, open internet. Sure, they're creative, but they can be wildly inaccurate, and you definitely don't want them anywhere near your private data. But on the right, that's the new game, source-grounded agents. These AIs only know what you tell them. They work exclusively from your documents, acting as your own private, super accurate expert with a perfect memory.
A perfect example of this new wave is Google's NotebookLM. The best way to think of it is as your own personal research assistant, one that has read every single document, every transcript, and every note you've ever given it, and literally nothing else.
The secret sauce behind this is a technology called source grounding. What this means, in plain English, is that the AI is basically forbidden from using its general knowledge of the internet. So before it answers any of your questions, it first has to go find the relevant facts directly from the sources you uploaded. This is a huge deal because it acts as a safeguard against the AI just making stuff up. Every single claim is cited, and you can trace it right back to your own material. It's accuracy built right in.
And this is where things get really interesting. So we've established that these tools can analyze your documents. But what if they could do more than that? What if your research could literally talk back to you?
Check out this feature called Audio Overview. NotebookLM can take your source documents and synthesize them into a podcast-style conversation between two AI hosts. And to make it sound totally real, it even adds disfluencies. The ums, ahs, and little pauses that we all use in natural speech. Get this, by 2025, you'll actually be able to interrupt the podcast and ask it questions for clarification. It turns passive research into a real, active conversation. So, okay, the tech is obviously incredibly powerful. But what does this actually mean for our jobs? Let's make this real. We're going to use a case study of a senior software engineer to break down how a real job is being impacted task by task by this agentic shift.
So let's get right down to it. Out of all the things a senior engineer does in a given week, which of those tasks are the most vulnerable to being automated by these new AI agents? This table lays it all out. The tasks with a high threat level, the stuff AI can do pretty effectively right now, are things like building user interfaces in React, optimizing database queries, and drafting those initial technical design documents. And why those? Well, because these tasks are super structured, they're repetitive, and they're based on syntax. The more complex stuff, like backend development, that still has a bit of a buffer, maybe 1 to 3 years.
Now, when you add up all the time spent on just those high-threat tasks, it comes out to roughly 10 hours a week for a typical senior engineer. Think about that. That's a quarter of their work week. This time that you get back, that's what we call the time dividend.
And that brings us to maybe the most important concept in all of this, the time dividend. See, the goal of this kind of automation isn't to make you redundant. It's to free you up to do higher value, more strategic work. It's an opportunity. Let's actually watch how this works, starting with front-end development. Right now, tools like GitHub Copilot and v0.dev can take a simple text prompt and just generate entire component structures, all the state logic, the styling, all of it. The AI is handling the execution.
So, because the AI is doing all that grunt work, your role has to change. It's a fundamental shift. You stop handwriting all that repetitive code. Instead, you become the manager. You're the one defining the user experience. You're reviewing the AI's work for quality. And you own the big architectural decisions. You become the system owner, not just the typist.
And here is the payoff. From this one task category alone, that engineer gets back 3 to 5 hours every single week. That's your time dividend, right there.
ready for you to reinvest into the kind of work that actually requires a human brain.
Now, when you zoom out and apply this logic across all those high-threat tasks, the picture becomes crystal clear. For UI work, you go from typist to system owner. For SQL, you're not the author anymore, you're the data logic validator. For tech docs, you go from being the generator to being the architectural decision owner. The pattern is just undeniable. You're reclaiming up to 11.5 hours a week by shifting from being an executor to being a strategist.
So, the big question is, how do you make this transition for yourself? Because this isn't just about software engineers. This is the new mandate for basically every knowledge worker out there. And it's going to require a real actionable plan. Your future value, your career security, lies in what we're calling the 4 human-critical pillars, the stuff AI just can't do. First, accountability. An AI can suggest something, but it can't be fired for a bad decision. A human has to own that. Second, trust. Real, complex negotiation needs human relationships. Third, ambiguity. AI has no idea how to navigate messy office politics or undocumented old systems. And finally, empathy. Building a team, mentoring people, that is a profoundly human job.
Okay, so here's a practical 6-month roadmap to get you there. You start with the foundations, learn some Python, understand APIs. Then you really master prompt design and that retrieval-augmented generation tech we talked about earlier. From there, you level up to designing, orchestrating, and deploying your very own agents. This is the path from just being a user of AI to becoming an architect of AI-powered systems.
And look, if you only take one single thing away from all of this, let it be this. Automate the execution, but never, ever delegate the accountability. That right there is the new dividing line. The execution part of our jobs is quickly becoming a commodity. It's the ownership and the judgment that are becoming priceless.
The very nature of our work is changing right under our feet. All the tedious, repetitive, cognitive stuff is being automated away, and that's freeing us up for a much higher level of thinking. So the question for every single one of us is this: you're no longer the executor. Are you ready to be the architect?